Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Be sure to subscribe to our channel. We publish new videos every day. Don't forget, grab your smartphone and download the Lava Matra app and stay in touch. Guru Maharaj's message is your advantage. The following is a Sri Krishna Chaitanya book compilation given by His Holiness Jaya Pataka Swami Maharaj on November 10th, 2020 in Sri Mayapur, India.
Bhagavati Pangulang Aditayam Yakshivatamahan Vande Sri Gurum Dinsarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Islam Harihi Om Tat Sat. Today we're continuing with the Krishna Chaitanya class.
So today we are continuing with the Krishna Chaitanya class. Today's topic is entitled as Overwhelming Ecstasy of Madhavendra Puri, Eating the Stolen Sweet Rice and a Piece of Broken Earthen Pot Every Day. Chaitanya Charitamrita.
শান্তিপুরে অদ্বৈতের গৃহে আগমন ও অদ্বৈতের দীক্ষা। শান্তিপুর আইলা অদ্বৈত আচার্যের ঘরে, পুরীর প্রেম দেখি আচার্য আনন্দ অন্তরে।
When Madhavendra Puri arrived at the house of Advaita Acharya in Shantipur, the Acharya became very pleased upon seeing the ecstatic love of Godhead manifest in Madhavendra Puri.
মন্ত্র লইল যত্ন করিয়া, চলিলা দক্ষিণে পুরী তারে দীক্ষা দিয়া।
Advaita Acharya begged to be initiated by Madhavendra Puri. After initiating him, Madhavendra Puri started going toward the south. In this connection, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments that Advaita Acharya took initiation from Madhavendra Puri, who was a sannyasi in the disciplic succession of Madhva Sampradaya. According to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Kiva Vipra Kivanyashi Shuddha Kenanai Jai Krishna Tattva Veda Shri Guru Hoy. A person may be a Brahmana, a sannyasi, a Shudra or whatever, but if he is well conversant in the science of Krishna, he can become a Guru. This statement is supported by Sri Madhavendra Puri. According to the Pancharatra injunction, only a householder Brahmana can initiate, others cannot. When a person is initiated, it is assumed that he has become a Brahmana. Without being initiated by a proper Brahmana, one cannot be converted into a Brahmana. In other words, unless one is a Brahmana, he cannot make another a Brahmana. A Grihastha Brahmana partaking of the Varnashrama Dharma institution can secure various types of paraphernalia to worship Lord Vishnu through his honest labor. Actually, people beg to be initiated by these householder Brahmanas just to become successful in the Varnashrama institution or to become free from material desires. It is therefore necessary for a spiritual master in the Grihastha ashrama to be a strict Vaishnava. A spiritual master from the sannyas order has very little opportunity to perform archana, deity worship, but when one accepts a spiritual master from the transcendental sannyasis, the principle of deity worship is not at all neglected. To implement this conclusion, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us his opinion in the verse Kiva Vipra Kibanyasi, etc. This indicates that the Lord understood the weakness of society in its maintaining that only a Grihastha Brahmana should be a spiritual master. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu indicated that it does not matter whether the spiritual master is a Grihastha, householder, a sannyasi, or even a Shudra. A spiritual master simply must be conversant in the essence of Shastra. He must understand the personality of Godhead. Only then one can become a spiritual master. Diksha actually means initiating a disciple with transcendental knowledge by which he becomes freed from all material contamination.
So, according to this verse, Lord Chaitanya indicated that
So, according to this verse, Lord Chaitanya indicated that
it didn't matter what one position in the Varnashram system was.
what one's position matters in the Varnashram system was.
Rather, what was important was one should be conversant
Rather, what was important was one should be conversant
with the Supreme Person of Godhead,
with the signs of the Supreme Personality of Godhead,
understand how to serve Him.
and understand how to serve Him.
So, technically, then Advaita Gosai, being a Grihastha Brahmana, he should only take initiation from another Grihastha Brahmana.
So technically, Advaita Gosai, being a Grahastha Brahmana, he should only take initiation from another Grahastha Brahmana.
But he was also showing that this principle was subordinate to the principle of knowing the science of Krishna.
So he was also showing that this principle was subordinate to the principle of knowing the signs of Krishna.
That's the real qualification of a guru.
So that is the real qualification of the Guru.
यमुनाय गोपीनाथ दर्शन और नृत्य गीत यमुनाते কইল গোপীনাথ দর্শন তার রূপ দেখিয়া হইল বিহল মন
Going south, Sri Madhavendra Puri visited Remuna, where Gopinath is situated. Upon seeing the beauty of the deity, Madhavendra Puri was overwhelmed.
Madhavendra Puri was dancing in ecstasy,
Madhavendra Puri was dancing in ecstasy,
seeing the beauty of the Gopinath deity.
seeing the beauty of the Gopinath deity.
বুকের কারিপট্ট শ্রবণের সুর নিত্য গীত করি জগমোহনে বসিলা কে কে ভোগ লাগে বৈরাগ্যী ব্রাহ্মণে পুছিলা
In the corridor of the temple from which people generally viewed the deity, Madhavendra Puri chanted and danced. Then he sat down there and asked a Brahmana what kinds of foods they offered to the deity.
আর সৌষ্ঠব দেখি আনন্দিত মনে উত্তম ভোগ লাগে ইহা কইল অনুমানে
From the excellence of the arrangements, Madhavendra Puri understood by deduction that only the best food was offered.
So, Madhavendra Puri was interested what food they were offering so that he could similarly make such ideal arrangements.
So, Madhavendra Puri was interested to know but what food they were offering so that he can make
Such ideal arrangements
such ideal arrangements
for the Govardhandari Gopal deity.
for the Govardhandhari Gopal deity.
গোপালকে ঐরূপ ভোগ দেবার ইচ্ছায় পূজারীকে জিজ্ঞাসা ও পূজারী করতে গোপীনাথের ক্ষীর ভোগের প্রশংসা যেমন ইহা ভোগ লাগে সকল শুনিব তেমন অনুমানে ভোগ গোপালে লাগাইব
Madhavendra Puri thought, I shall inquire from the priest what foods are offered to Gopinath, so that by making arrangement in our kitchen we can offer similar foods to Sri Gopal.
এই লাগি পুছিলেন ব্রাহ্মণের স্থানে ব্রাহ্মণ কইল সব ভোগ বিবরণে।
When the Brahmana priest was questioned about this matter, he explained in detail what kinds of foods were offered to the deity of Gopinath.
সন্ধ্যায় ভোগ লাগে ক্ষীর অমৃত কেলি নাম দ্বাদশ মৃত্যুপাতে হয়ে অমৃত সমান।
The Brahmana priest said, in the evening the deity is offered sweet rice in 12 earthen pot. Because the taste is as good as nectar Amrut, it is named Amrut Keli.
Sometimes kheer is described as sweet rice.
Sometimes kheer is described as sweet rice.
Or sometimes kheer is condensed milk.
Sometimes kheer is condensed milk.
The kheer which is offered to Gopinath seems to be more like condensed milk.
The kheer which is offered to Gopinath seems to be more like condensed milk.
It may have a little rice, I don't know.
It may have little rice, I don't know,
It's certainly very nectarian.
but it is certainly very nectarian.
গোপীনাথে ক্ষীর বলি প্রসিদ্ধ নাম যার পৃথিবীতে ওইছে ভোগ কাহা নাহি আর।
This sweet rice is celebrated throughout the world as Gopinatha Kshira. It is not offered anywhere else in the world.
Since our temple and the Sun Temple in Toronto is known as New Ramona.
Since our ISKCON temple in Toronto is known as New Remuna,
And the deity there, the Krishna deity, is called Kirchur Govinath.
the Krishna deity there, they call him as Kirshor Gopinath.
So there would be a little place there also, they offer kheer to the deity.
That would be a suitable place if they also offer kheer to the deities.
At the time of writing the Chaitanya Charitamrita, this was the Ramona deity was the only place in the world they offered kheer.
So at the time of writing the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Ramuna deity was the only place where they offered kheer.
Maybe the new Ramona should also have that special boga.
So maybe New Ramuna should also have that special boga.
গোপীনাথের ক্ষীর ভোগের অনুরূপ গোপালকে দেবার ইচ্ছা হেন কালে সেই ভোগ ঠাকুরে লাগিলা শুনি পড়ি বসাই কিছু মনে বিচারিল।
While Madhavendra Puri was talking with the Brahmana priest, the sweet rice was placed before the deity as an offering. Hearing this, Madhavendra Puri thought as follows.
অযাচিত ক্ষীর প্রসাদ অল্প যদি পায় সাদ জানি তৈছে ক্ষীর গোপালে লাগায়।
If without my asking a little sweet rice is given to me, I can then taste it and make a similar preparation to offer my Lord Gopal.
পুরীর উহাকে জিহ্বা বেগ জানিয়া লজ্জা ও আরতি দর্শনান্তে স্থান দেয়। এই ইচ্ছায় লজ্জা পাইয়া বিষ্ণু স্মরণ কইলা হেন কালে ভোগ সরি আরতি বাজিল।
Madhavendra Puri became greatly ashamed when he desired to taste the sweet rice, and he immediately began to think of Lord Vishnu. While he was thus thinking of Lord Vishnu, the offering was completed and the Arati ceremony began.
The system is that before the boga is offered to Krishna,
So the system is that before the boga is offered to Krishna,
one should not eat the boga or think about eating it.
one should not eat the bhoga or think about eating it.
Since he was thinking about eating before it was offered,
So, since he was thinking about eating it before it was being offered,
although it was not for his own enjoyment, it was for the service of Krishna.
although it was not for his own enjoyment, it was for the service of Krishna,
Madhavendra Puri, he felt very ashamed that he had thought of this.
but Madhavendra Puri, he felt very ashamed because he had thought of this.
Because he was a pure devotee, he had naturally all good qualities of humility and
Because,
surrender.
because he was a pure devotee, naturally he had all the good qualities like humility, surrender.
জ্যোতি দেখিয়া করি কইল নমস্কার বাইর হইলা কারে কিছু না কহিল আর।
After the arati was finished, Madhavendra Puri offered his obeisances to the deity and then left the temple. He did not say anything more to anyone.
পুরীর আচার অযাচিত বৃত্তি পুরী বিরক্ত উদাস অযাচিত পাইলে খান নাহে উপবাস।
Madhavendra Puri avoided begging. He was completely unattached and indifferent to material things. If without his begging someone offered him some food, he would eat, otherwise, he would fast. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. This is the Paramahamsa stage, the highest stage for a sannyasi. A sannyasi can beg from door to door just to collect food, but a Paramahamsa who has taken the Ayachitta Vritti or Ajagar Vritti does not ask anyone for food. If someone offers him food voluntarily, he eats. Ayachitta Vritti means being accustomed to refrain from begging, and Ajagar Vritti means indicates that one who is compared to a python, the big snake that makes no effort to acquire food, but rather allows food to come automatically within its mouth. In other words, a Paramahamsa simply engages exclusively in the service of the Lord without caring even for eating or sleeping. It was stated about the sixth Goswami, Nidrahara Viharakadi Vijitau. In the Paramahamsa stage, one conquers the desire for sleep, food, and sense gratification. One remains a humble, meek mendicant engaged in the service of the Lord day and night. Madhavendra Puri had attained this Paramahamsa stage.
Madhavendra Puri was the topmost platform.
So Madhavendra Puri was in the topmost platform.
Paramahamsa stage and above.
Paramahamsa stage and above.
So completely absorbed in serving Krishna.
So he was completely absorbed in serving Krishna.
And no other interest.
He had no other interest.
প্রেমামৃতে তৃপ্তি নাহি ক্ষুধা তৃষ্ণ বাদে স্থির ইচ্ছা হইল তাহে মানে অপরাধে।
A Paramahamsa like Madhavendra Puri is always satisfied in the loving service of the Lord. Material hunger and thirst cannot impede his activities. When he desired to taste a little sweet rice offered to the deity, he considered that he had committed an offense by desiring to eat what was being offered to the deity. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. It is advisable that food being offered to the deity to be covered when taken from the kitchen to the deity room. In that way, others may not see it. Those who are not accustomed to following the advanced regulative devotional principles may desire to eat the food, and that is an offense. Therefore, no one should be given a chance to even see it. However, when it is brought before the deity, it must be uncovered. Seeing the food uncovered before the deity, Madhavendra Puri desired to taste a little bit of it so that he could prepare a similar sweet rice for his Gopal. Madhavendra Puri was so strict, however, that he considered that this to be an offense. Consequently, he left the temple without saying anything to anyone. The Paramahamsa is therefore called Vijita Sadguna. He must conquer all six material qualities Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Matsarya, and Kshuda Trishna. Lust, anger, greed, illusion, enviousness, and hunger and thirst.
গ্রামের শূন্য হতে বসি করেন কীর্তন এথা পূজারি করাইল ঠাকুরের শয়ন.
Madhavendra Puri left the temple and sat down in the village marketplace, which was vacant. Sitting there, he began to chant. In the meantime, the temple priest laid the deity down to rest. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Although Madhavendra Puri was not interested in eating and sleeping, his interest in chanting the Maha Mantra was acute as if he were an aspiring transcendentalist rather than a Paramahamsa. This means that even in the Paramahamsa stage, one cannot give up chanting. Haridas Thakur and the Goswamis were all engaged in chanting a fixed number of rounds. Therefore, chanting on beats is very important for everyone. Even though one may become a Paramahamsa, this chanting can be executed anywhere, either inside or outside the temple. Madhavendra Puri even sat down in a vacant marketplace to perform his chanting. As stated by Srinivasa Acharya in his prayers to the Goswami, Nama Gana Natibihi. The Paramahamsa devotee is always engaged in chanting and rendering loving service to the Lord. Chanting the Lord's holy names and engaging in his service are identical. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there are 9 kinds of devotional service: hearing, Shravanam, chanting, Kirtanam, remembering, Vishnu Smaranam, serving, Pada Sevanam, worship of the deity, Archanam, praying, Vandanam, carrying out the orders, Dasyam, and serving him as a friend, Sakyam, and sacrificing everything for the Lord, Atma Nivedanam. Although each process appears distinct, when one is situated on the absolute platform, he can see that they are identical. For instance, hearing is good as chanting, and remembering is good as chanting or hearing. Similarly, engaging in deity worship is good as chanting and hearing or remembering. The devotee is expected to accept all 9 processes of devotional service. But even if one process is properly executed, he can still attain the highest position, Paramahamsa, and go back home, back to Godhead.
So the 9 islands of Navadam are connected to the 9 processes of devotional service.
So the 9 islands of Navadip Dham is connected to the 9 processes of the devotional service.
And then one circumambulates the holy Dham. They go to these 9 islands and remember the 9 processes.
So when one circumambulates the holy Dham, they go to the 9 islands and remember these 9 processes.
Simantadip is the first island, hearing.
Simantadip is the first island, hearing.
Second island chanting is Godrumdip.
Second island chanting is Godrumadvip.
Third island is Madhyadeep, remembering.
So third island is Madhyadweep, remembering.
Like that, you go around, circumvent the 9 islands,
So like that you go around circumambulating the 9 islands.
and remember each of the 9 processes of devotional service.
And remember each of the 9 processes of devotional service.
স্বপ্নে পূজারীকে গোপীনাথের আদেশ নিজ চিত্ত করি পূজারী করিল শয়ন স্বপ্ন কালে ঠাকুর আসি বলিলা বচন.
Finishing his daily duties, the priest went to take rest. In a dream, he saw Gopinath deity came to talk to him, and he spoke as follows.
পূজারী করদার বিমোচন কি রেগ রাখিয়াছি সন্ন্যাসী কারণ.
O priest, please get up and open the door of the temple. I have kept 1 pot of sweet rice for the sannyasi Madhavendra Puri.
ধরার অঞ্চলে ঢাকা ক্ষীরে খায় তোমরা না জানিলা তাহা আমার মাথায়.
This pot of sweet rice is just behind my cloth curtain. He did not see it because of my tricks.
মাধবপুরী সন্ন্যাসী আছে হাতেতে বসিয়া তাহাকেও তো এই ক্ষীর শীঘ্র দেহ লইয়া.
A sannyasi named Madhavendra Puri is sitting in the vacant marketplace. Please take this pot of sweet rice from behind me and deliver it to him.
পুরী পূজারী নিদ্রাভঙ্গ ও গোপীনাথ অপহৃত ক্ষীর প্রাপ্তি. স্বপ্ন দেখি পূজারী উঠি করিলা বিচার স্নান করে কপাট খুলি মুক্ত করিল দ্বার.
Awaking from the dream, the priest immediately rose from the bed and thought it wise to take a bath before entering the deity's room. He then opened the temple door.
So this shows how deity is actually a worshipful incarnation.
So we see how the deity is actually a worshipable incarnation.
And how in the dream of the Pujari told him
How he came into the dream of the Pujari and told him
that he had stolen the kira to give to the sannyasi Madhavendra Puri.
that he had stolen the key to give to the sannyasi Madhavendra Puri.
So, and the Pujari found the kira behind the deity.
So the Pujari found the key behind the deity,
And in the class here, since it's late, but and see how the deity actually reciprocates with his devotee.
since it was late, but we can see how the deity reciprocated with the devotee.
And therefore the deity is actually present there.
So therefore the deity is actually present there.
Materialists think the deity is the idol,
The materialists think that the deity is an idol,
but actually the devotee understands that the deity is present,
but actually the devotees understand that the deity is present,
and therefore they worship the deity in that consciousness.
therefore they worship the deity in that consciousness.
Madhavendra Puri thought that he had desire to eat the kheer
So Madhavendra
before it was offered. He was thinking he had committed an offense.
So Madhavendra Puri thought that he wanted to take the kheer before it was being offered. So he thought that he had committed an offense.
And the deity understood what exactly Madhavendra Puri was thinking,
But the deity understood what exactly Madhavendra Puri was thinking,
and therefore he took a pot of kheer to give the Madhavendra Puri.
Therefore, he took a pot of kheer and kept it for Madhavendra Puri.
Now, this reveals how if one has faith in the deity,
This reveals how if one has faith in the deity,
the deity reciprocates.
the deity reciprocates.
Yeah. So this pastime is glorified. And to this day they call the deity Kirchur Gopinath.
So this pastime is glorified, and to this day they call the deity as Kirchur Gopinath.
A deity in Toronto, Canada,
The deity in Toronto, Canada,
which is also called Kirchur Gopinath.
which is also called Kirchur Gopinath.
That temple is famous for performing dramas,
The temple is famous for performing dramas,
and they would have an annual drama to celebrate the stealing of the pot of kheer.
they can have an annual drama to celebrate the stealing of the pot of a kheer
For Madhavendra Puri.
for Madhavendra Puri.
Haribol.
Do you like our ad-free videos? Be sure to subscribe to our channel. We publish new videos every day, and don't forget to like and share our channel.